People and providers across the world still do not understand how life-altering Lyme disease can be. And there's a new movie that's about to drop.
Yeah, it exposes the good, the bad, and the unbelievable. The movie is called The Monster Inside Me. And this is Chick to Chick. All right, we were just talking that this new movie, it's a documentary about Lyme disease. It's about to open nationwide. It's called The Monster Inside Me. And I think this title is so appropriate because it is a monster. It's inside, and you can't really see it on the outside. Mm-hmm. It's one of those invisible diseases. I saw what it did to your daughter. I saw what it did to you watching her suffer. And boy, it's a monster.
Yeah, I first heard about this movie several years ago. Tony, the director, was starting to put feelers out about it. He really wanted to hear from people, like real people who are going through this disease, and find out from doctors, because he didn't understand it. He had never heard of it. He lives in Arizona. It's like, what are you talking about? Ticks, Lyme, what? And so this movie has been on my radar. I am so excited because what this movie does is it really tells a story, the good, the bad, and the ugly, about Lyme. And he tells it in such a beautiful, heartfelt way, because one of the key characters is Frances, his beloved wife. And it is such an incredible story about Lyme. So without further ado, I really want to bring in Tony Silva, who is the director of The Monster Inside Me. I'm so excited for you to be here today. Thanks for being with us, Tony.
Oh man, this is a huge pleasure. Oh. Huge pleasure. You guys do this so well.
Well, we'll see. Let's just start right away with this movie. It is an intense title, but as Flora pointed out, it's an appropriate title. Tell us about The Monster Inside Me.
Well, everybody with Lyme will know immediately what it is that this monster is. And it even goes a little deeper. You guys saw the movie. You know that there's even someone that we interview that she just comes out and says, it's like it's the devil inside you. It's the devil. And when I remember when she said that and I was behind the camera, I went, wow, it really is. Maybe I should have called it the devil inside me, but that would have been really strong. But it's a monster. And not only that, it transforms people. The Lyme transforms people in such a way that this monster starts to being fed by whatever you feed it. So then things get augmented and worse and deepens. And then you got people that say, I've been diagnosed for 20 years. And then this monster is now this uncontrollable beast almost, in pain, in lack of hope, in despair. We saw things that I had to hold back tears in some of the people that we interviewed. There was this one interview that never made the move, never made the cut, because there was a 14-year-old boy, and he hardly talked. The mom kept interrupting him all the time. So he unfortunately didn't make the movie. But when we met him and he came out of his room, he was all like this, because of Lyme, just dragging a leg. And Frances and I just started crying, And so the monster, it's not a monster as in the sense that it's rage and a monster that's going to destroy people. No, it's a monster that's silently in the body, eating away and destroying your identity and destroying who you are, destroying your dreams. That's what I saw. Yeah, I had never heard of Lyme until just a few years ago.
Yeah,
that's what I saw and documented. I documented everything, So that's why it's called The Monster Inside.
Well, you know what? I'm frustrated because she's frustrated, and this is my chick, and I know what she's going through. And I think what's so hard is that here in Pennsylvania, we have the highest number of Lyme disease cases in the country. And yet so many cases are going misdiagnosed. People aren't testing for Lyme. They're not talking about Lyme. They're not thinking about Lyme. So many of the expenses that are associated with Lyme aren't covered by insurance. And I think this is so frustrating. You're frustrated, which frustrates me. We're so close. Why did you decide to make this movie? And why did you think this was so important to get out there?
Yeah, well, I'm frustrated that you guys are frustrated now. Well, the reason I decided to do this is because when we put the first teaser out in November of 2016, it was a short little clip that showed some Lyme rage and some other things that Frances going through treatment. And we got, in 2 weeks, about 1,000 emails of people saying, that was me, that's my pain. But what the majority of these people said is, but I'm hiding behind a mask. Mm-hmm. And the other thing is, but I'm so ashamed to let my family and people know what this is really doing to me. So that's when we went, okay, we have to put this out there. We gotta open the lid off of this can and just let everything go out and people see what this disease really is about. And let me tell you something. I showed this movie to a lot of Lyme orgs. A lot of Lyme organizations thought they said, no, we can't be a part of this. Some people couldn't watch the whole movie. Mm-hmm. It was so tough. So it's so raw and heart-wrenching, but that is what Lyme is.
It is.
So
yeah.
Raw
that is why we decided.
Raw is a very good word.
And Tony, I told you the first time I watched it, I was like, I watched it, but there are certain times I just had to tap out of it. It was too difficult. And then I rewatched it again and I stuck it out and I cried all over again. And here's why. There are things about this disease that people cannot possibly understand, and they really insult the person who's sick. And the caregiver doesn't get a whole lot of support because they end up being isolated because they're protecting the person who is sick. There are two big things that you talk about that not enough people talk about, and that is the rage and the suicide, the number of people that commit suicide. Now, my daughter didn't have rage, but she had extreme anxiety. And she never got suicidal, but there was one time she really made me nervous because she was really, really low. So you exposed those two elements. Why do you think those were so important?
We decided to focus on the Lyme rage, the despair, and also the anxiety that comes with having Lyme, because that's what we heard of the most. That's what everybody talked about in the thousands of emails that we got right when we were at the genesis, at the beginning of putting the film together. So it's like you said, it's tough to watch, but it's also insanely necessary. This has to be in the marketplace of ideas. People need to talk. Nobody's talking about this, guys. Nobody's really talking openly about this. We talk about Lyme disease and got bit by a tick, and I got lack of this and lack of that, and we're running out of money because of Medicaid. All that is very important, but I think that we need to start talking about some of these issues for doctors to really start taking us seriously.
Oh, absolutely. There's another part of this film that I think is so valuable. It's the part that makes me cry every single time, and it's when Frances is being interviewed. Telling the audience how important it is to have a support system, that you've got to have one person who's with you on that journey. And, as a caregiver, for me, like you would hear me get upset, right? Mm-hmm. But I didn't have a lot as a caregiver. But what was most important, and I realized later, was what an asset I was to Sam. If she didn't have me always taking all of it on, it would have been much more difficult for her. So tell us why you put that part in the film.
Okay, so that part in the film comes around the halfway mark. And just like Lyme disease, we created a hashtag, which is hashtag pierce through the darkness. When getting treatment with Lyme, you have to pierce through so much darkness that's going to come. But there is something on the other side. So the same thing we've been telling people that watch our movie. You got to pierce through the darkness of our film. Part 1 is the losses of Lyme. Part 2 is the darkness of Lyme. It's stuff people have never seen. But then when part 3 and 4 come in, people start seeing light, which is hope. Hope is everything. We had doctors say we can't really treat people before their hope is rekindled. So Frances understood this, and she understood that when I was committed to do this journey with her, I had to be the shepherd of her heart, to pull her along. And then she saw the value in this. When she spoke to people about healing in Lyme, she would from then on say, having someone, a caretaker, someone there by your side is essential. And that's what we preach today. That's exactly what we talk
See,
about. It's
I got tears in
everything.
my eyes again.
I see that,
Yeah.
and that's really true in any type of adversity, whether you're dealing with a health crisis, a personal issue, or some sort of professional adversity. Having support, I think, is so crucial to get you through these hard times. Are you okay?
Yeah,
she's getting teared up over here
because
it's hard to listen to.
This when you watch this movie as being a caregiver, it takes you in different places than it would for someone who actually experiences Lyme. And it's going to take another person who's never had Lyme and never been a caregiver to another experience of it. It's incredibly important. And I think that people need to hear this message because, like you said before, not enough people understand it. They just don't. And that is providers. That's legislators. It's people who don't understand how insidious this disease can be.
So as we wrap this up, this is a tough one because the person looks fine on the outside. They don't have any scrapes. They don't have any bumps. They don't have any bruises. It's what's going on inside, that monster inside. We certainly hope that people who have Lyme, and more importantly, people who don't have Lyme, go to see this movie. Yeah. When they leave the theater, what do you want them to take away from this movie?
Oh, that is easy. I want them to have hope like never before. That's it. I want them to go home and say, I'm going to fight like I've never fought before. If I get one person to watch the movie and write me and say that, our job is done. That's it. Because the number of people in despair is 4 million plus in the U.S.
Yep. And
it's a huge number.
It's an alarming number. Okay, so we need to tell everybody where this film will be so they can actually go in their city to go see it. I know it's not a lot of places, but it doesn't matter because where it is, you can go and see it, at least now before it goes nationwide. So what are those 5 cities?
We are doing Harrisburg and Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. And then we're going to do Boston, Massachusetts, and then New York City, and that one city in Connecticut I always forget.
Ridgefield.
Ridgefield.
I remembered it, yeah.
She had to remind you.
So it starts on the 27th of April, and we're going all the way to the 15th of May, showing in those cities. Yeah. And we are going to have Q&A where Francis and I are going to be in every single one of those 5 cities. We're going to, at the end, while the credits are rolling, we're going to set up tables and microphones. And in Pennsylvania, we're going to have you guys with us. So we're really excited to communicate with the public and answer questions. We're not doctors, obviously, right? I'm just a filmmaker. But what I've learned from my experience, I'm willing to share and willing to communicate with people to make this experience really worthwhile, and something people won't forget.
Well, we're excited to be a part of this. Mm-hmm. We thank you for coming on this podcast today. We're really excited about it, and thanks so much.
Thanks, Tony.
So we do have a special showing of this movie coming up. It's on April 26th. It's going to be showing at the Midtown Cinema here in Harrisburg. Then on April 27th, there's a special showing at the Bryn Mawr Theater in Philadelphia. It's going to be in 3 other cities, as Tony had talked about, before this nationwide debut, which is coming up the end of May.
That's right. Please go see this film. And when it drops on the 20th, watch it then too. We appreciate you being with us. Come back again. We have another topic to chirp about.